The hour of 4:30 having arrived, we'll call the Alternative Energy Project Local Impact Advisory Committee for Hub City Wind Farm to order. We'll have public comment later in the meeting after we have an overview of the report. And the first item would be approval of the June 25th minutes, which are in the packet. Moved by Supervisor Draybeck. Seconded by Joe. Second to approve. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. That motion carries. We have a quorum of members. Vice Chair Dickinson is on the participating remotely, and we have all but 2 members present. The first item will be a review of the draft report to the executive committee. And before I turn it over to Lori, again, this committee was created by the county board to deal specifically with the Hub City Wind Farm proposal. We had a 75-day window in which to meet and develop recommendations. This report will be forwarded to the executive committee, which will, Chair Gibbs, take it up next week, Wednesday, or receive it next week, Wednesday. And our task was limited to basically looking at and summarizing local concerns, the impact on county government, emergency response concerns, decommissioning concerns, and other information or recommendations. And those are included in the report, but I'll turn it over to Lori McSimmons for that high-level overview.
Thank you, Chair Robinson. So beginning on page 3 of the packet is the draft report as presented to you all. It largely mirrors what we looked at last time on June 25th in terms of summarizing the public comment that was sort of at the center of what you all were doing as a committee, was to collect those concerns and opportunities. So the majority of the report just follows similar to last time, looking at the survey, the public forum, and then adding in those appendices, including all of the open-ended comments that were submitted in the survey and all of the comments that were collected at the public forum. We also added in some additional information that Alliant did answer all the questions that we submitted forward to them from the public forum and from the committee. So we included that as an appendices as well, and some additional resources that were provided to the committee throughout your 75-day period. The report then attempts to come to a conclusion at the end in terms of findings and considerations. And so I'm going to go to that, and that is on page, begins on page 27 of the PDF, where it says 25 on the bottom of the page. But we did attempt to summarize the findings and considerations that the committee gathered from all the comments received. This includes a list of most commonly submitted joint developer agreement suggestions that the executive committee could consider should they choose to move forward with a JDA. And then also includes a summary of some of the other sentiments that were expressed that maybe were not within this committee's realm to oversee, but also tries to give that advice forward to the executive committee, noting that the public comment really did focus a lot on how respondents did not support the proposed project. And so giving the executive committee some other recommendations and advice as it relates to intervening possibly in the Public Service Commission process, and continuing to advocate for changes at the state level. Supervisor Robinson, did you want to add anything else?
Any more members want to go into more detail relative to the findings? Supervisor Gao.
Thank you, Chair. That's quite a document that's put together by the staff and all the work we've done. And I would appreciate, because we have an audience out here, if we could read the final conclusion on page 26 to 27, so the citizens out here know what we're looking at as what potentially could be a recommendation.
The closing 2 paragraphs?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. As previously noted, public comments collected throughout this process clearly indicate that a significant portion of respondents do not support the proposed project or pursuing JDAs. As such, if the county chooses to move forward with negotiating a JDA, the committee recommends significant consideration be given to the potential value of preserving the county's right to intervene in the Public Service Commission application process. Continued evaluation of the availability of other tools to manage this type of development in the county and how to foster public transparency through the negotiation process. Because the PSC intervention process can carry significant cost, the executive committee and/or board may be well served to direct administration to develop a strategy relating to intervening. The board may also want to proactively consider how this would be funded. Similarly, given the public's expressed frustration with state statutes and PSC rules that limit local involvement in approving wind projects over 100 megawatts, the committee recommends the county and local units of government continue to look for opportunities to advocate at the state level for updates to the approval process and siting standards. Specifically, legislation changes at the state level that would provide a greater opportunity for local involvement in the PSC approval process would align with the overall public sentiment received by the committee. Also, state statutes have not evolved with the changes to the size and technology being used in these projects. Seeking opportunities to pursue updates to these regulatory frameworks would be consistent with the public input offered to the committee. Once this report is finalized and adopted, it will be shared with the public, the Marathon County Board, and the clerks of the towns in which the Hub City Wind Farm project would be located.
Supervisor Gao.
Thank you, Chair. I just have a follow-up question. After reading or seeing this, do you know, or do we have any idea in the county level if there's any activity, other portions in the state of Wisconsin where we want to intervene, where we're looking for changes in the statutes, or is this, is anything like that happening that the Wisconsin County Association is aware of?
I'll comment on that. I'm on the Wisconsin County Association Agriculture Environmental Resources Committee. We have a meeting next week. One of the items that we'll be taking up is resolutions that have been offered by the counties. Walworth County offered a similar resolution that Marathon County did that will be considered by that committee next week, by the Wisconsin County Association Executive Committee, and ultimately by its membership at its September annual meeting that calls for a greater local participation in the siting process. So there are, I believe, a number of counties that have adopted similar resolutions.
Thank you, Chair.
Supervisor Sandelsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just got a few comments to make. First off, I'd like to thank the residents of Marathon County who have attended these alternative energy meetings, ERC committee meetings, executive meetings, and full board meetings, exercising their First Amendment and giving public comment. And to also thank you to the Alternative Energy Committee for giving the tax-paying residents the ability to speak on this matter. A government of the people, by the people, and for the people is critical for the sustainability of the future of Marathon County. These fine folks are very passionate about the direct effects on human health, livestock, the environment, and the major financial losses of the large scale wind project. With great reasoning, all these facts presented have large amounts of data and research to back them up. Take a watch of the documentary Downwind or many others that are still available on YouTube. These documentaries are the direct effects on the people. I myself have been studying the effects of industrial wind turbines the last 3 years. From watching several documents to reading articles, data research on the large scale wind turbines, I have many of them here with me. I got many of the articles and whatnot if anybody wants to read any of that stuff. These property tax paying citizens, many of which are the producers of food for much of the county and state, we need to take their concerns to heart and take action on this matter. It's not the matter of what we can't do because of the appointed non-elected PSC has all control. That's a false claim. We have the provision under the 660401 under health and safety of the citizens. We have a duty as elected officials to look out for the health, safety, prosperity of Marathon County as stated in our mission statement for the Marathon County Board. As you may recall, an older gentleman from the town of Stettin came to the ERC committee meeting about 2 years ago when Rebrock was working on a wind ordinance. His neighbor had installed a small personal wind turbine in their backyard. The wind turbine was probably only about 80 feet tall, and this had great effect on his health and his wife's health and himself. After sticking thousands into the new windows, extra insulation and more, with no avail, still many sleepless nights, headaches, ear pain, among other health issues. This is the cause of infrasound on the human body. Jerry Punch, an audiologist, has done very in-depth research on the effects of infrasound into the brain and the inner ear. His findings are very alarming. In 2014, the Green Bay Board of Health has issued a declaration that the industrial wind turbines are a major health hazard to human health in Brown County. This was after 75 residents filed complaints to the board and another 50 affidavits were submitted to the PSC. This, along with a number of residents who have abandoned their homes. This was a small wind farm with only about eight turbines. Also in Oregon, there has been a $5 million lawsuit against a large-scale wind turbine company with 50 wind turbines involved in that one. Financial loss. A massive wind energy company, 119 turbines to be exact, in Clay County, Texas, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy on January 24th of 2026. The cost of cleanup is estimated to billions, which is going to put on the backs of the taxpayers and the landowners. The Mead and McMillan wildlife will be totally destroyed as we know it if these large-scale industrial wind turbines are installed. This is an environmental injustice upon the precious resources. As the county wants to try and remedy this large homeless issue, the Alliant massive industrial turbines will drive people out of their homes, their land, causing more homelessness and destroy livelihoods of the food producers from Marathon County. No one will also want to build new homes in these areas as well, contributing to another loss of future tax revenues and homes of the residents. And the PFAS, how many tens of millions of dollars has WASA spent cleaning up PFAS? These wind turbines shed large amounts of PFAS and asbestos into the soil as they turn, let alone a natural disaster such a tornado will spread these for miles. As far as job creation goes, mainly these large-scale wind turbine projects create jobs in the construction and a handful in the maintenance area. On the other hand, thousands of long-term good-paying jobs are created both in the construction and operation of clean coal and natural gas power plants, from the extraction, freight, and actual energy plant operations. After listening to Alliant speak at the meetings, I find their answers to questions very weak, and they don't give direct answers. In conclusion, I don't see signing a JDA as an answer to protect the county and its residents and the food producers. This will only limit the ability to recover losses. One tidbit that was spoken about in the ability for the county to charge 3 times the cost of road damage, which is under Wisconsin state statute, without a JDA. That's approximately $220,000 per mile, so $660,000 per roadway mile. And it's only going up annually. Think about the long-term effects of residents in this county as a whole. 10, 20, 30 years from now, the land will be desolate wasteland of contamination and these wind turbines installed. As farmland, potential home sites, the land will be greater value and continue to make Marathon County a thriving and prosperous land to exercise the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In conclusion, the best answer to protect the residents of this county is with a moratorium on 100+ megawatts. To my knowledge, 500 counties in Wisconsin have already successfully done this, Clark being their closest neighbor. Secondly, will be litigation or intervention against these companies for losses to the residents and the county. This would be money well spent to protect our food supply, water supply, human health, safety, and environment. Thank you.
Let me remind both county board members present and the public that the issue before us today is not, will we approve this project? But it was, we were charged with the task of developing a summary of concerns and opportunities as it relates to the Hub City Wind Farm. The discussion and the previous comments are more appropriately directed to the executive committee and the county board when they take up the recommendations. What we're asking for the comments today to pertain to is the report that we have put together summarizing what those concerns are, to make sure that we've captured all of those concerns and forward those to the appropriate other entities for their consideration. Ours is more or less of a fact-finding charge. I think we've done that. We've had the most elaborate public involvement process on any project or issue that I've been involved in 20 years on the county board, and we've received a very healthy array of comments as it relates to it. But we'd ask that today's discussion focus in on what that report is and the charge before this committee as it relates to making a recommendation to the county board. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, it's not that we can't make a recommendation to accept this. We can still go to the county board and say, hey, if people don't want this, we don't want it. And I think that's what it should be. And that's my feeling. The towns don't really have the money to fight all this stuff. For fighting as far as civil courts and all that stuff. We're looking to buy snowplows and get people to work drive our snowplows. Don't let's just fight something like this. It's too big of a task for us. County should be kind of putting in their input. We're paying taxes to the county. The county should be doing stuff for us.
I think if you heard what
I don't want to hear it.
Lori what we had inserted and I had asked that based upon our last meeting that we put language in there relative to that the options for the executive committee and the county board are, do we want to enter into discussions on a joint development agreement? And if so, what would those items be? Do we not want to enter into a joint development agreement? If we don't enter into a joint development agreement, one of the options is, do we want to intervene in the case before the Public Service Commission? That would require a commitment of financial resources relative to hiring an outside counsel to do that. But those are decisions that'll be made at the executive committee. If people have strong concerns, I would encourage you to look at addressing those concerns at those meetings in the future. But again, our charge was limited in nature, and we appreciate the public's participation. We appreciate the committee's involvement, but we had a task, and we're at the point of needing to wrap that up no later than the 13th. Chris?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I apologize. I texted you earlier. I apologize for not being in person. Sometimes things happen. I want to thank the administration, Lori and her team, for the amount of work they put into this. This has not been an easy thing to do. And I hope people would appreciate the effort that the administration has done to bring this together. I want to thank the committee members, those local and those county, for listening, for paying attention, for understanding the issue that people out here in this area are suffering through, trying to figure out. I'll thank Alliant for coming and speaking and be willing to stand up there and take the questions. That cannot be an easy task, even if some may not fully appreciate some of the responses. To do that is very helpful for this report. And then for all the people who've come and given comment to make this a 201-page report, Thank you for that, for opening up the eyes, I think, to a lot of people for the issues that are at hand that sometimes aren't so clear to see. And finally, I want to thank the chair for running these meetings so well, and for Supervisor Gal for putting a long list of potential additions to the report regarding JDA with no intent to move in that direction or not. I think the work that he did should be commended. So what am I getting to? On page 25 and 26, there's findings and considerations. Increasing setbacks, strengthen decommissioning obligations, implementing baseline studies and ongoing monitoring, provide compensation or community benefits, increase transparency and information sharing, and considering establishing funds to cover potential damages. Those are items in regard to a JDA. They can also be items in regard to talking to the PSC and putting in a moratorium. And so I want people to consider that as this moves forward, these are important topics for the state to be taking on when we can't, in a lot of ways, do that ourselves. And so when we talk about being in lockstep, I think the local townships need to be in lockstep with the county with them, but also the state needs to be in lockstep. They need to be put on notice that many of these rules and many of these statutes simply don't jive. Thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Robinson. As I was telling Supervisor Gao, if you're bored in the evening, sit down and read the 201 pages. I was doing that instead of reading my Mitch McConnell book. We got a lot of input, a lot of good information, a lot of possible information that's maybe not so on the front. A lot of questionable responses, I guess. And again, we just got some more information a couple of days ago about people that support the projects and things. And, you know, when my concern is, and hopefully the county board uses their due diligence in thinking about this. When you do a study and the study's for 3 days, that you don't find any ill effects, while you're exposed to somebody that's got a common cold, you don't have an ill effect for 7 to 10 days. So how can you do a study for 3 days and say, hey, there's no problem? You know, those are things that jumped out at me as I'm reading. Some of the responses that, not to pick on Hub City Wind Farms, I totally disagree with the responses as far as the involvement that they state that the townships have been involved with. He said, you know, the one, I think, section 4, question 5, Alliance has not approached any town. The last discussion I had about a JDA, they don't want to do a JDA with each individual townships. They'd rather do it with the county and have the county overrule us, is what the word was said. So my thought is we need to slow down. We need to make sure we're doing the right thing as a township, as a community, as a county board. You know, there's a lot of unknowns out here because we don't experience this every day as a town board or a county. So we need to step back. My feeling, and read the information that you got. Ask the right questions. Are we doing the right thing going forward? You know, or what can we do to make it better or whatever? Are we, you know, are we protecting our assets, our people that we have? So thank you, Chair.
Any other comments or questions from the committee? Otherwise, we'll go to the public hearing. Supervisor Go.
Thank you, Chair Robinson. I don't sit on the executive committee, and I'm just one member of the county board. I look at the recommendations here and then I do have two comments. I hope the executive committee really looks closely at the intervention. That doesn't say you're gonna do it. I also been sitting here listening to all the comments portion of it. I know you don't want to use the word moratorium, but I would hope that the executive committee would at least look at that because that's what the folks have been asking for. Thank you.
All right. Supervisor Rosenberg.
Thank you. I've been listening to this too, and I have concerns that the charge of this committee is to decide whether or not to recommend entering a JDA. There are some other things here, right? Like we could advocate at the state level. I mean, obviously the state policies, everyone's asking it to change, right? But at this point, I wonder what the reality is if this were to go in front of the PSC and the laws being what they are. Is it a likelihood that the laws would change by the time this hits the PSC? It doesn't, I mean, the legislature is not in session right now. And so I do feel like the one negotiating point of power we have right now is the JDA. And I would be very concerned if we left that and people got nothing. I wouldn't feel good about the job that we did. I also understand why we're concerned here. But I want to express that concern that the possibility is nothing. And I don't like that.
As a member of the executive committee, you will have that opportunity to make a recommendation at an upcoming
I will certainly take it.
upcoming meeting. But I think, again, the task of this committee was rather not to make the determination of whether we should do a JDA, but rather to assemble the information on which the executive committee will make a decision whether to enter into that. And you're correct, the legislature is done for the year. Unless there's an extraordinary session of the legislature or a special session called by either the governor or the legislative leaders. The fact that they had legislation before them all of last legislative session and it didn't move is probably indicative of what might happen in the remainder of this calendar year. But next January starts another term of the legislature where the legislature and or the Public Service Commission could revise their rules and guidance. So other things, if not, we'll open it up for, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just one thing I would say, I represent one of the towns that 4 or 5 years ago, along with Brighton, we fought back. We did something that seemed a bit scary at first, and it was very ominous. I can tell you that I lost a lot of sleep. I'm sure others did as well. But sometimes it pays to reach out and poke something in the eye. I'll just let it go with that.
Right, I think we'll open it up for public comment. We've got a number of people that have signed up. And we ask that you limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes. And again, if you could focus in on the issues before this committee, that would be much appreciated. I have Denise Kahn as a maybe. I'm not sure if that's a yes or a no.
Maybe. Didn't know what was. I just feel that a JDA, I don't know a lot about that, but if you enter into a JDA, that's basically saying, yes, we're going to go forward with this project. It doesn't matter what the people feel. As for money or losing money on this, you go back to your mission statement on that wall and it says, our vision is to be the healthiest, safest, and most prosperous county in Wisconsin. You are going to lose an awful lot if these things go through. People don't want them. There's maybe 100 landowners that signed up for this, and there's more like 1,000 plus that do not. And it's our job to protect our farmland and our resources in Marathon County, and we're going to lose an awful lot if this goes through.
All right, I have Mary Jasinski with a dash. I'm not sure. No. Okay. Van Friedman. Next will be Joe Kiwak.
Good afternoon. My name is Diane Friedemann. My husband Richard and I have lived in Oak Plain Township for 30 years. We are opposed to the Hub City Wind Project, but that doesn't matter because the money-hungry landowner / factory farm near us sold out all their neighbors. Per the recent map, there will be a turbine directly north of my home and well, at most likely the minimum setback of 1,250 feet. And just west of that, another turbine at a setback of 2,754 feet. Among our many concerns is the safety of our well. There is no guarantee it won't be damaged during construction by vibrations or shifts in the bedrock, or later tainted by leaking gear oil, grease, or hydraulic fluids in the groundwater, regardless of what Alliant Energy says in their surveys. We urge Marathon County not to enter into any agreements with Alliant Energy, and as the largest county in Wisconsin, to lead by example. Stand up, fight for the citizens you represent. Do everything in your power to keep Marathon County from being destroyed. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Joe Kiwak, followed by Caden Crab.
My name is Joe Kiwak. I'm from the town of Cleveland, which is in the project area. I'm urging the county not to go into a JDA. I know there's talk about wanting to be in a JDA and that, but when you think about it, if we put things in there for the JDA that would benefit us, Alliant isn't gonna like it very good, and they probably won't sign it anyway. So I just urge us not to go into a JDA, and if anything, go into an intervention at the PSC. Thank you.
Thank you. Caden Crab, followed by Justin Lowe.
Point it up a little bit. Good evening, board members. My name is Caden Crabb. I'm a field manager for the Wisconsin Land and Liberty Coalition. We at the Land and Liberty Coalition are a nonprofit education advocacy group that seeks to educate and advocate for an all-the-above approach to energy. One thing that is beneficial about renewable energy projects is that the community can get involved through using a joint development agreement, JDA, with the developer. This can bring your needs as a community to the developer and make sure you are getting the bang for your buck. It is a great way you can be involved with the project development as a community. These agreements can help bring more revenue to areas like roads, schools, and other local amenities as well. These are also beneficial due to the fact you can choose where the money goes rather than leaving it to the general untargeted tax structure. As a volunteer firefighter for a rural community, I understand that it can be difficult to find means of funding to make sure our members and departments are well funded and resourced. A JDA can have funding go to your local departments and give them the extra funding they may need. JDAs are also beneficial, allowing government officials to have a stronger say in the project development process. A JDA can give the opportunity to work with the developer to provide ideas and opportunities that will benefit your community, make sure your voice is being heard as an elected official. And with that, I just want to say thank you for your time and thank you for doing your duty as a county board member and serving your community.
Thank you. Justin Lowe, followed by John Schmidt.
Yeah, raise it up. Well, I want to thank the board members here for a very difficult thing here in the executive committee for putting this all together. It's a very detailed report, and I'm glad to hear that you heard the feedback of citizens of Marathon County. I really haven't seen too many 90-10 issues or 98-2 issues where so many people are opposed. So I'm glad that you heard that. And I know that this really, as you mentioned, not really the place for whether or not there's going to be a moratorium or not. And I know that there has been discussion about the JDA. And as one of the previous people said, it is a sign to the state and the PSC and the Alliant, if you don't go into a JDA, that, yeah, we don't want you here, right? If you get into the JDA, like the previous speaker said, if we're going to try and get all kinds of money from them or all kinds of concessions from them, they're just going to say, hey, we don't need this. We're going to build the wind turbines anyway, right? And I think Alliant Energy really has misled the committee as well, because why, has anyone ever wondered why are there no wind turbines in Marathon County so far? Why did they go to Texas, South Dakota, Nebraska, those areas, right? Because Wisconsin doesn't have real wind. It's not profitable, right? These wind turbines started going up 10, 15 years ago. Why didn't they come right here to Wisconsin? It was so great to produce energy, right? And some other things to consider with the alternative energy, the quote unquote clean energy. These are all facts you can look up actually on the PSC website. Wisconsin now generates more electricity by natural gas than they did 20 years ago. And the coal plants that were supposed to be shut down because we got all these wind turbines and solar panels have not been shut down. And we got Weston 1 right here, right? And this wind, and another thing to think about too, is where all this energy going, right? Is it going to benefit us? Not really. It's all being shipped out to provide energy to data centers. This 150 megawatt wind turbine farm is enough to power 100,000 homes on average. Are we building 100,000 average single family homes here in Wausau or Marathon County? No, right? Is there a new manufacturing plant, going up, like a car plant that needs electricity? No. One of the largest solar panel farms in the entire nation is being built in Plover area right now. Do they have an aluminum smelting plant that's going to be built there that needs all the electricity? No. It is not for us. It's all going to be shipped out. We get a little tax revenue perhaps, that helps. I understand that. But I don't think Alliant Energy is really being truly forward with the committee. So 3 minutes goes by awfully fast. And I would disagree with Board Member Rosenberg that nothing that can be done. Public pressure works. You notice all of the candidates for governor on both sides are promising to save Wisconsin's farmland and natural areas from turbines and solar panels. So that gives you an idea that there is pressure and that does work.
Thank you. John Schmidt, followed by maybe Nancy Ewan. No? No.
Right.
Good, just Nikki Cottrell then would be next. Sorry.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name's John Schmidt. I'm a landowner in town of Eau Plaine. One of the concerns that I have, I know that we're collecting concerns, something that I haven't seen in the information and this is something that I just became aware of actually yesterday, was the map that was on slide 37 of the presentation, showing where the turbines would be located and where all the infrastructure that would be associated with that, including the collection lines. For the landowners that have not signed up for it, I feel that we are at risk of having other infrastructure associated with this project being forced through our land. I know that looking at the map, one of the lines is going straight through my property. And the first that I'm finding out about it was when I saw the information by chance on Facebook last night. So I would ask that the board members do what you can to protect the people that have not signed up for this project, the landowners. But the landowners that are not signed up by this project, so that we are not having any additional infrastructure associated with this project being forced upon us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Nikki Cottrell, followed by Christine Seehafer.
Good afternoon. My name's Nikki. I'm from Brighton Township. I ask that you carefully consider whether the research being relied upon for this project is truly applicable to the turbines that are being proposed. Wind turbine technology has changed dramatically over the last 2 decades. Today's utility scale turbines are substantially larger and more powerful than those evaluated in many of the studies that frequently are cited by Alliant, which I can assume is only intentional. While some newer research has been conducted, the body of evidence on the latest generation of utility scale turbines is still more limited than the research available for earlier generations. As turbine size and operating characteristics have evolved, it is reasonable to ask whether conclusions drawn from older technology can automatically be applied to today's projects without additional study. This concern extends beyond noise and health research. It also applies to studies evaluating property values. Research based primarily on earlier generations of turbines may not accurately predict the impacts of the larger, more modern turbines now being proposed. Whether the impacts ultimately prove to be greater or not, they should be evaluated using evidence that reflects the technology that is actually going to impact your residents. For this reason, I believe a temporary moratorium deserves serious consideration. A moratorium is not a permanent ban on wind energy. It's simply a pause to allow independent research, regulators, and communities time to gather strong evidence on modern utility scale turbines so that decisions are based on the best available information. I also ask that this committee recommends against entering into a JDA. Once a project like this moves forward, the decision will shape our community for decades. The turbines, roads, transmission infrastructure, and changes to the landscape will remain long into the future, affecting generations of residents. The visual character of our rural communities will be altered by or for much of our lifetimes and likely long after many of us in this room are gone. Because the consequences are so long-lasting, this is not a decision that should be rushed. Taking additional time to ensure the science is current, complete, and applicable is not an obstacle to rush. It's responsible planning. If the evidence supporting these projects is truly strong, it should withstand additional scrutiny. If possible gaps remain, or if important gaps remain, it's far better to identify them now than after a project has already been approved and constructed. I respectfully ask you to recommend a temporary moratorium and to recommend against approving a JDA, at least until the evidence reflects today's technology and the long-term consequences have been fully considered. Thank you.
Thank you. Christine Seehafer, followed by Jeff Stuland.
I'm Christine Seehafer from the town of McMillan in the project. My responses are to the questionnaire and some of the answers. Section 1, number 2, where's power going? Hub City Wind will serve all Alliant Energy customers in Wisconsin, they say. If the energy demand is close to the wind facility, the power will likely flow to that demand. Ben Tanko already told us it would not be used in our area. Number 7, the PSC minimum setback from non-participating property lines and roads is 1.1 times blade tip height. The U.S. Department of Energy says setback for 600-foot turbines is 4,560 feet. Section 2, question 2, there is a bare copper ground conductor buried with the phase conductors to help safely dissipate lightning strike current and conduct fault current in the event of a failure to safely de-energize the circuit. We all know underground currents can still escape the system and cause stray voltage. On the number 3, taller turbines cause more health risks with stronger infrasound, as I stated last meeting of studies done. Number 8, the blades are not being recycled because of the cost to do so. They are piling up in landfills. In fact, Texas says they don't want any more. Their landfills are full. Number 9, since noise differs between models and manufacturers and also different materials used in the turbine, which company is Alliant using? Section 3, 1 and 2, the emergency helicopter right now regulates any structures greater than 200 feet in height. What areas will they not be able to go when they have to regulate 680-foot structures? Section 4, number 1, the depth in the ground is unknown. Alliant Energy has told us 10 to 45 feet, not just 10 to 15 feet. Number 3, no clear answer on size of megawatts. They say 4 to 6 megawatts. Number 5, what is in the ordinance for road damage repair? Why do we need a JDA for that? Number 6, no experience or data yet on 680-foot turbines. As said before in studies, the taller the turbine, the more health and safety occurrences. Section 5, number 5, how and where are engineering studies done? How many, how far from site? The water flow is different everywhere. Number 9, Alliant Energy anticipates no stray voltage, but cannot guarantee. Number 11, I've been hearing eagle nests that existed for many years are suddenly disappearing. Section 6, 2 through 8, Alliant Energy does not foresee credible impacts to public health due to turbine noise or other turbine-related factors. Are you kidding? You are not listening to any of our studies done that we have presented to you by us regarding health and safety issues. You're calling this misinformation. The studies we gave you are also done by experts. You seem to only believe what's convenient for your liking. Section 7, you say property values are not affected. Talk to Midwest Land Group, who sells land, and ask them how easy it is to sell land signed into lease contracts. Once the buyers find out about the lease, they back out of the sale. Section 8, the cement is only removed 4 feet below land level so as to not disturb the land. What about the land disturbance when digging 30 feet down when construction is done? If you recommend a JDA off this and other information given from these answers, it will not be conclusive. Thank you.
That was a lot. Thank you. Jeff Streeland, followed by Sherry Kubisiak.
Jeff Stuhlin, Town of McMillan. CDC says that 15% of all people have had trouble falling asleep, the majority or all nights in the past 30 days. Does anybody know when the wind blows the most? It's at night. It's at night. One of the vision here is to be the healthiest, safest, and most prosperous county in Wisconsin. Look around. 15% is 1 in 6 people. 1 in 6 people would have their sleep and health adversely affected by these things. A JDA is not going to bring back anybody's health. You can fix a road, you can fix a power line or whatever you want to do, but go to somebody and said, I have the cure for your insomnia, and tell them, oh, we're going to get money from Alliant. These turbines have not been this big in this state yet. They have not been put in any area this densely populated. This is one huge experiment, and look around. We are the guinea pigs for this experiment. 1 in 6 people will have negative health impacts to this, right? We should not be entering in a JDA because, as others have said, that is an indication that we are willing to play ball. We should shut this down. I don't know who would risk their health for a little bit more money. The number one thing as elected representatives we have is to protect the citizens of our county. You are charged with that. You take that oath. It is part of your vision. Adhere to your vision as you're going through and looking at the recommendations that you're making. It is not healthy. It is not safe. We've heard about property values. Why did Alliant Energy even undertake a study if it was so plain that property values weren't going to be impacted? We know that the prosperity of our county will be impacted in a very negative way. I encourage you, do not sign up for a JDA. Fight this every step of the way. Do not give an inch to these people. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Sherry Kubisiak, followed by Keith.
Hi, I'm Sherry Krebsbach.
Sorry.
That's okay, it's a hard name. We live in the township of Hull in Marathon County. We are asking that this Hub City project be stopped. We live approximately 4 miles from the proposed Hub City project. We will see these huge turbines from our kitchen window and on our deck. This is not okay with us. We are concerned also if Stonemark proceeds to the north of us. We don't want to live between 2 wind projects. Please be a good neighbor and stop the Hub City project for all of our health and well-being. Keep Marathon County and Wisconsin beautiful for all of us to be proud of to call home. please don't enter the JDA. Thank you.
Keith Kirschbach?
I'm Keith Krebsbach, and my niece and her husband were just home from Texas, and he was telling us of all the problems they do have down there. He said there's less than 10% of all the windmills in Texas that are operating. There's oil running down every one of them almost. And why aren't these wind energy companies getting these ones they already have up in operation again instead of leaving all this junk standing in the air? And they want to put more junk in the air. I drove down through Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio in beginning of May, and I think there's less than 25% or less of them that are running. Why don't they fix these and before they start building any more? Thank you.
That is the last person that signed up for public comment, so we'll close the public portion, and we'll now go on to item 4, policy issues, and the issue before us is whether we want to adopt the report and send it to the executive committee. And I would note that as part of the charge of this committee, that a copy will also be sent to all the town clerks for the affected towns, and they will have an opportunity to have the discussion on whether or not they want to enter into discussions with a joint development agreement. So the issue before us is the report that was prepared. Are there any questions, comments, or motions? Supervisor Cole?
I can make a motion to submit this report as presented to the executive committee.
And let me just note that there will be at least one editorial change where we will put the number of people that testified today in the report to make it complete.
With the required changes then.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and second to recommend approval of the report. Is there any discussion on that? Supervisor Gao? Or Chris?
Thank you, John. My one question is, will this be posted online to our website? And can it be shared with other townships throughout the county, or do we want to remain limited in that?
It is posted on the website.
Chris, here, we have the upcoming Towns Association annual meeting later this month. We'll make sure that all of the towns is part of the report between Chair Gibbs and myself. We will make sure that all the towns are aware of it at that meeting.
And as far as to clarify, thank you, Lori, but to clarify that we adopted it, that it could be highlighted on our county website that we adopted it, which is different than just having it in the packet.
Administrator Leonard is giving a thumbs up, so we will make sure that it gets to the website.
I think Lori, if I may, Mr. Chair, Lori has already has a link on the website already, Vice Chair Dickinson, but we'll be sure to add the clarification you just referenced that once we have the adopted version, we can note that it was adopted in the date.
Thank you for that.
Any other? Supervisor Gao?
Thank you, Chair. As this recommendation is going to be going from the executive committee, I'd like to make an amendment to the report to add, I'll read it out, as previously noted, public comments and collected throughout this process clearly indicate that a significant portion of the response is to not support the proposed project or pursue a JDA. Inserting this paragraph, the committee recommends that the county board do not pursue a JDA and then continue as such if the county chooses. Therefore, I'm making this motion. I'm hoping to get a second because I would make the report much stronger than what I've been hearing from the people in the community.
I would second that.
All right, we have a motion. Could you share that motion with the? Do you have it? We'll capture that. Any discussion on that motion? I intend to vote no on the amendment. And let me explain why. The issue before us is not whether the project goes ahead with a JD, without a JD, or the issue before us is, I think the executive committee should make the decision of what the mechanism is by which we negotiate. This project can go ahead without county approval. I think we've learned that. They have submitted the notice and the application to the Public Service Commission, their notice of intent. I think that we would want to, at the executive committee level, consider all options, including intervening, a joint development agreement, but sometimes you stand on the sidelines and the car passes you by and you haven't jumped on and you're still standing on the sidelines. And I think it's important that we evaluate all options available to the county to intervene, to try to address some of the concerns that were raised by the public. And therefore, I can't personally support that amendment. I think that is an appropriate discussion at the executive committee level. I think pursuant to our charge, not necessarily one here. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Robinson. My insertion doesn't say we're recommended from this committee. It still states in the statement that the county can move forward in negotiating a JDA. So all we're doing is saying, as us as a group, are inserting this. Does not mean that the executive committee has to follow it. Executive committee has to do anything with it. I just think that it's we have a job as this group, and I felt that wording should be put in there from us. So that's why I'm hoping that this group will support it.
Any other discussion on the amendment? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I think as what we've been commissioned with, we've gotten all the information, but I think it's also important to, and I agree with Supervisor Gao that the executive committee knows where everybody on this committee was, where they stand, as a group, individually. You could have one person that takes Supervisor Gao's side, but everybody else is the other way, or it could be vice versa. I think it's important that they know where we are as far as majority or minority wise. So just my thought.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
we have a hand raised.
Chris?
Thank you, John. Just want to make sure you got my second to that.
We do.
Thank you. I just, and I appreciate Supervisor Gal kind of clarifying what he was saying there. If you look at the committee mission statement, there's two things that stick out. The committee shall provide insight to the executive committee. Also, information, that the information aid the executive committee in providing guidance. Insight and guidance is what narrows down what Supervisor Gal said. That we do kind of establish, we kind of have this direction, but it doesn't eliminate other options. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Go ahead.
So we have a motion and a second. Thank you, Chairman. I would like a voice vote on that.
Voice or roll call?
Roll call, whether for or against.
All right, roll call vote has been requested. We will have a roll call vote. Any other question? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Okay. Coyle,
This is the amendment only.
Drabeck,
Aye.
Gao,
Aye.
Joe, how do you say your last name? Brute. Brute. Okay. Durfus, she's online, I believe. So. Deb, are you online? Krause, Yeomanson, Kurt, sorry,
Yes. Jochimson.
sorry, Radke, McGuire,
Aye.
Robinson,
No.
Dickinson.
Aye.
Lori, did you get my vote? Yes.
I did not, thank you.
So we have that amendment adopted. And again, I think that that will be a decision made by the executive committee or county board. But with that, any other amendments? If not, the motion for approval as amended. All those in favor of adoption of the report as amended and with the editorial comments reflecting the changes from today's meeting will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion carries unanimously. I want to thank the public for their input in this process. It is the start of a journey. It is not the end of the journey. There will be other opportunities for discussions on what the county's position will be, what the town's position will be, because this will be shared with the towns. You will have an opportunity to have that discussion at the local level. And I want to particularly thank the committee members for sitting through some very informative meetings. And pursuant to our charge, we are done ahead of schedule, 4 days ahead of schedule. That doesn't happen often in government. So I want to thank you all for your contributions to our efforts. With that, a motion to adjourn would be in order. Moved by Kurt, seconded by Dwayne to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. That motion carries. I guess I'm a minority of one.